Welcome back to the Running Effect podcast. I'm so grateful you're here because today's guest is a special one. Her name is Becs Gentry, and she went from drinking and smoking at university to running a 2:32 marathon and placing fourth at the British Olympic trials. And it all started because of a loss she never saw coming. Becs is a Peloton running instructor. Many of you might know her name from that. She's also the newest Hoka Global Ambassador and one of the most honest voices in the sport. In this conversation, you'll hear the wake-up call that changed her life, why she thinks being a beginner again is a gift, and what she did when the sport that built her identity stopped bringing her joy last year. I love that part of the episode as I personally related a lot to it. If this episode hits home, follow the show so you don't miss another episode. Leave a 5-star review, takes next to no time, and share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. I appreciate you all. I hope you find value from this episode. I'm trying to blow up this podcast this year. So the more people you can share this with, the comments you can leave below on Spotify or YouTube, I will reply to every single one. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know ways you think I can build this show and make it better. I love you all. I appreciate your time and attention and energy that you pour into me and this platform and this community. And Becs delivers through a remarkable conversation today that you will be blessed by. So without further ado, I will no longer stand in the way between you and the wisdom of Becs Gentry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined by the lovely Becs. I'm totally going to butcher it. Gentry? Is that how you say it? There we go. Yeah. How you doing, Becs?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. You're so confident and you think you have it, and then you're about to say it and you do a double take, and that's what happened there. But it's so good to speak with you. We both met at the Meta Connect event in San Francisco, which was so much fun, a whirlwind of a day, 24 hours. But I remember when we were there, you were decked out in these Hoka super shoes, and I was like, Becs, what's going on? Like, I don't think these are out yet. And you were like, well, I'm in some early talks with Hoka to join them. So take me through that moment in September all the way up to, I think last week it was announced.
Yeah, it's been an awesome process of getting to know the brands, getting to know the team, from marketing to brand development to product development to all of the crew, and to fully understand what Hoka is hoping to do in the running world, in continuation of what they're already doing. And it was, it took some time. I'm a true runner. I'm not just going to think about a brand partnership for one reason, being to line pockets. It has to really be a brand that I agree with. And Hoka has always been a brand that I love. I've always loved their ethos. I've always loved their image. And so I was truly honored when we started this conversation. And over the past few months, it's just been finding my favorite shoe, finding my favorite fit, finding where I sit within the brand image. And then we announced, last week, 2 weeks ago. Now I can't even remember.
Time flies by.
Yeah.
During that same trip, Hella Sidibe, who's also a Hoka Global Ambassador, was boots on the ground with us. Did you have any conversations with him in terms of, hey, what's your perspective working with the brand? Because a lot of times when you work with a brand, and I love Hoka, so I can positively talk about them, but I'm sure working with brands, sometimes the people behind the brand, of course, they're going to talk positively about the brand, but talking to an athlete who has experience and is unbiased can give you some greater perspective. So did you have any conversations with him or anyone else who works with the brand?
I just asked him how his experience has been. He's been with Hoka for a while, and he is a fantastic brand representative for Hoka. And he had nothing but glowing words to say about everybody he's interacted with his time at the company, and the support that he's been given to continue his running journey and grow his own running personality. That was a really strong positive for me. And I can't wait to do more with Hella and Lucy and the whole crew on the team.
When you think about how you describe yourself, someone passes you on the street, says, what do you do for work, or what do you do for a living? How would you describe yourself?
Man, really?
Special guest today on the podcast.
Special guest just wanted to come and say hi. I always say to people, I'm a runner, which is really strange because they kind of look at me and they're like, I don't know you. Or if they hear my accent, they're like, oh, you visiting? I'm like, oh, yeah, no. I mean, I'm a runner like at Peloton. I'm a Peloton instructor. And then it kind of goes down that route. And sometimes the conversation gets deeper of like, oh, I kind of like semi-professional runner at one point in my life, and I never know what to say when people really ask me what I do. Quite often I just say I'm a mom.
I love that. The most important one, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm Tallulah's mom. I have this tiny CEO at home. She controls my life.
Are there any labels that get put on you that you don't particularly like influencer or anything of the
Yes.
sort?
Oh, I hate being called an influencer. And no disrespect to people who
Has
do
a
it for a
stigma.
living. And yeah, but it has a stigma, especially when you have certain qualifications that have gotten you to where you are before the boom of Instagram influencing came about. And I think that's the only reason it grates me is like, hey, I was doing this running thing before Instagram was even a thing. So yes, I may fall into that category, but that's not my first and foremost. And so, yeah, you're right. It's the word has a stigma. It's not necessarily the actions, because I think no matter what, you can go on Instagram and influence somebody through what you say or do.
You've run 2:32:01 in the marathon. You ran that at the British Olympic Trials back in 2021. I think a lot of people who know you from sort of the Peloton world or even social media wouldn't realize you're as fast as you are. Does that ever shock people when you tell people like, hey, I placed 4th at the British Olympic Marathon Trials. I've run 2:32. I'm legit.
Yes, a lot of the time people will just look at me, especially around the Peloton life, when I have like a full face of makeup on and I'm just being the Energizer bunny, and they just kind of maybe presume that a lot of the fitness is for show, if you like, and then they'll say, oh my goodness, what, you ran a what? Like, yeah, yes, not last week, not last year, granted it was a few years ago, but give me 6 months and I might be able to train for it again, who knows. So yeah, it definitely does come as a shock to a lot of people, but I think there's sometimes I think people who run who may have a vague understanding of what my role at Peloton is, and then put 2 and 2 together and they're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Knowing the sport pretty well and the different athletes within it, if you're strictly just a professional athlete, it's remarkably hard to make a living, but more specifically, remarkably hard to make a good living. And I think you're one of the few people I can think of who has this crossover where you've run elite times in your past, but you also, have the social, dare I say, influence, the social influence through, your content on social media or your role with Peloton or the different things you've done in your life. How often do you think about your kind of unique positioning in the sport that very few other people have?
So much, and it flip-flops, Dominic. Sometimes I look at some of the groups of women who are training together out, be it in Boulder, be it in Buffalo, be it in I-10, and I just look at them and think I would give a lot to just pack it up and go to altitude, go abroad, and just sit in a training camp for 6 months and see what I could do in a group like that. And then I think about how blessed I am to be in the position I'm in, to have an incredible job, have an incredible duality of this on-screen coach who gets to reach millions of people in their running journey, as well as somebody who is still able to go after their goals. And I get to decide at what level that is. I've had it was a very pertinent decision when I signed with Hoka of like, I didn't know whether I wanted to go back to trail racing or to road racing. I was in that flux of maybe I go for Olympic trials again at 40, or do I go back to the trails and see how strong I can be on the trails, because that's where I started 10 plus years ago, 15 years ago, really. And I kind of just thought to myself, you know what, I'm not a professional athlete chasing the times or the money or the sponsorship in that respect anymore. It's more about showing the variety you can have as a runner, but the enjoyment too, that you can be fast, but you can also be going out there every day and not worrying about what the watch says or the Whoop or the whatever you've got on, and just really, really sucking it in and enjoying every single step that you take.
Tell my listeners about some of your journey to get to this point. They can hear the accolades we've talked about today and think, okay, where did she start? When did she develop a love and passion for running? So take me through some of the different glimmer moments that got you to this point.
Oh gosh. So I kind of started movement and exercise. I started with walking when I was in my I think my final year of university, really, in London. I used to drink and smoke and do everything that people at university did back then, and I just got to a point where I realized I wanted to be a lot healthier than I was, and I decided to start walking into my classes. And then after, it was my third year actually, because then I got a job and I started walking to work. That quickly came to running, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with how it made me feel, how it gave me an escape from work or study or relationship stress. I love that it kind of stopped me going out and partying all the time, that I would still go out and socialize, but I'd be very cognizant of the time of getting home, because I knew I wanted to go and do the park run in the morning or whatever it was. And then travel came into it. I started with a group of my friends, a group of my girlfriends. We would just travel the world, and we would go to like super cool runs around the world. And it was an adventure slash fitness thing, but like back then fitness wasn't like cool. It wasn't like us going to these retreats. It was just us staying in like skanky hostels with a bunch of other people, but we were getting to meet tons of people and run in cool locations. And then I just started taking it a bit more seriously. And my first ever coach was a friend of mine, Blue Benedum. And we ran together on a Nike event many years ago. And he was like, what was your first marathon time again? And I was like, 3:27. And he was like, do you know how fast we've just been running for the past 8 miles, and you've been talking the whole time? And I was like, no. And he started coaching me from there, and I went straight down to a 250 something in the marathon, 255 I think it was. And it just progressed from there, and I never fell out of love with it. I never fell out of love with the challenge, with the strength that it gave me, the upset that it gave me. I kind of love being upset and mad with myself, because it propels me forward to be like, all right, why did that happen? Let's figure it out. Let's solve it. And then let's work on the next time we do that, we make it better. And that's how the journey went. And, such a backbone to it has been Peloton. Teaching at Peloton as well has been a blessing, because no matter what, I teach 5 days a week. So no matter what, unless I'm sidelined with injury, I'm running 5 days a week. And then I add my training on top of that. So it's a lot of people might see that as a crux, but to me, it's been a blessing.
When you think back on your years in university and those sort of lower moments where you didn't have the best habits or lifestyle, what's the number one thing that you think made you make the conscious decision of, I need to change, I need to do something better with my life here?
My godfather passed away, and he was he was another father to me. My parents traveled a lot, and my godmother and godfather brought me up when they were away, and he passed away quite suddenly from cancer. And he was a pipe smoker, and just, he didn't seem like a smoker to me when I was younger, because it was a pipe. I just didn't really, you're just like, it's a pipe, it's him, it's my Uncle Dilip. And that really, really rocked me. And I'd had other people in my family, in my life, pass away from cancer, and I hadn't necessarily felt the effects so much. And so that was a big turning point for me, to just be like, you know what, this isn't cool to be doing what I'm doing at such a young age. And I really did love fitness. Like, I loved getting into classes, and I was boxing a lot, to taking some frustrations out, I guess, in boxing. And I loved it when we did the cross training side of it, when we had to go and like run as fast as we could around this block. And I'd always beat the guys, and I'd always be the first one in. And I just knew that running gave me that, like, oof, I've got this.
How often do you think of your godfather, realizing all the things that you've accomplished since his passing, like even a moment like signing with Hoka and all the things you'll do with them, or Peloton? Do you ever think of looking down from you in a better place?
Definitely. I think that it's like it ebbs and flows in those situations where sometimes you're like, heck yes. And then other times you just don't think about it for months, weeks, whatever. But yeah, I guess it's always like bubbling in the back of my mind of like, well, thanks for dying in a weird way of like, thanks for giving me a wake up call, because you never know. Like, without sounding morbid here, being into anything, you show traits of an addictive personality, and you are just very, very lucky if your addictive personality leads you into fitness and you can stick with that. There are plenty of other people in the world who have addictive personalities that take them down a polar opposite, very detrimental route. So I think about it in that way of like, well, thank goodness I'm sort of, well addicted to keeping myself healthy.
Going back again to that point where you made those conscious life changes, a lot of people, I think, would be shocked to know that someone who is as accomplished and is as quote unquote fast as you are wasn't running at the age of like 10 or wasn't in track, in
God, no.
preschool, like a lot of people. What would you say to the people out there who feel like, it's too late for them to start?
Oh my gosh, it's never too late. It's never too late if you've got the passion. You just have to look at so many of the athletes out there, the Kira D'Amatos, the Sarah Halls, who have come through. Yes, they ran when they were younger, they had a break, and then they really came back to excelling at their sport in a later part of their life. And most of us worked out a lot more than we do now. Coco, my goodness me, woman. Off, sorry.
No, all good. We're giving
Most-
a she's an entertainer. She gets it. We got an audience retention halfway
She's
through
like,
the
"Ooh,
podcast.
look, screen's on.
Yeah.
It must be for me." Yeah, I think most of us, we moved a lot more when we were kids because we were made to, hopefully, at school. And it's definitely a point where you can look back and just be like, okay, I used to do this. I can do this again. And if you want to, if your reason, if your USP for doing it is big enough, you will find a way of getting into it later in life. Even if you did just have some bad habits when you were younger. And I have to say, schooling wise, UK versus USA, you guys are nuts here. Like, I'm scared for my daughter to go to school because I'm like, there is so much pressure on kids in this country at a certain level, at a certain age, to be into everything and be really good at everything. Like, and it still kind of makes me cringe when like 50-year-olds are like, yeah, I was a D1 athlete. I'm like, dude, you're 50. Let it go. Like, what? Okay, you don't say me, but like, I used to be a smoker every time I meet somebody. Like, that's the same like age difference. Like, let it go. What are you now? Like, focus on what you are now, meet yourself where you're at now, and make those moves into where you want to be.
I love it. Yeah, it's hilarious you say that, Bex, because literally yesterday I was thinking, and I was like, even with being 20 and all the things I'm doing now and, all the pressure I feel, the most amount of pressure I've ever felt in my life was like my junior and senior year of high school because of college. Because
Right.
college is, oh my gosh, they expect you have to be excellent at an instrument, best in your sport, have a perfect test score, have perfect grades, like lead 4 different groups in your community, and then maybe you have a chance to get into Stanford. It's crazy. Yeah,
I
it's
feel
ridiculous.
so, and I like, this is not just based off of movies anymore, because obviously when I lived in the UK, it was based off what I saw in TV shows and movies. Now I've been living it for nearly a decade, and I have my partner and all of our friends who have gone through school here. And I'm just thinking like, wow. And the amount of people who tell me, oh, I don't run because running was a punishment at school. I'm like, what are these phys ed teachers doing to kids? This needs to change.
How do you approach running with your daughter? Does she know about it? Does she want to do it? What's kind of your long-term view with
So
her?
competitive. It's ridiculous. She has to beat us at everything. She calls me slowpoke because she has to win. So I have to not win. She tells people that her mommy is the slowest runner around, which anyone who knows me just like creases with laughter. They're like, one day you're gonna realize how funny that is. She loves it, but we try not to make it a competition just because we are aware that we're both we're both in the world. My partner, yes, his focus is fashion and that's his industry, but he does Ironman competitions and marathons. So it's very much a running household. So I don't want her to have any resentment to it in any way. So it's definitely fun, but she has the gene. She has the speedy legs.
I don't know too much about the world of Peloton, but I know you've been able to interact with thousands and thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of runners throughout your time being a Peloton instructor focused on run. What are the best habits you've seen the people who consistently show up have?
They enjoy it. They really enjoy it. They're not putting too much pressure on themselves to show up. So therefore, it fits naturally into their schedule on a daily, bi-daily, weekly basis. And it is a community place. So I think a lot of people show up regularly when they make a date with a group of friends, and sometimes these people have never met. They may have been running together for 5+ years and they have never met one another, but they know that every Friday at 6:30 a.m. they're going to show up and they're going to take that class together. And it's just a nice moment of unity and friendship across a screen in a weird way.
Do you think it's possible to well, it is possible to be good at running if you don't enjoy it, but how sustainable do you think it is to, be good at running without the enjoyment of it? Like, would you still be good at running if you didn't enjoy it?
Oh, good question. No, I don't think I would be, because, and I say this from experience, because the last 6 months of 2025, I completely fell out of love with running. I just didn't really want to run much. Every now and again, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got this. And it would come back like when I'm traveling a lot, I love to run because I love to just explore. And, like the morning we met, I'd run to the Meta campus because I've never been there. And it was a really cool way to just see the area. But I totally fell out of love with it. And I personally, from having recently experienced that, I just don't think you could become good at it, because you're always going to have a roadblock. And not physically, of course, but mentally, you're going to have that roadblock. And it's not going to be something that you're compelled to do when you're tired, fatigued, short of time. And I just don't think, I'm a big believer in what you're thinking resonating through your body. So if you're not enjoying it, it's going to show up somewhere in your body, whether that's a knee soreness or a calf pull or a sore low back. I really do believe the body will just give you a sign of like, hey, this isn't, you're holding too much tension when you're doing these movements, and it's not good for you.
If you had to distill it into one principle, how can someone who is out of love with running fall back in love with it?
Just start going out for a walk again. Literally just head out for walks. I definitely just started grabbing my dogs again and taking them out every day and starting the routine back in that respect. And I would make sure I took them for a long walk. So it was like 20-30 minutes at least every single day. And I would sort of do the same process of when I go for a run. I'd put on like a playlist or a podcast. I would put on the right clothing and comfortable shoes and then head out for the walk. So I was making myself get back into habits that I'd lost and made sure I was really enjoying it. So it wasn't like the more self-help style podcasts I like to listen to when I run. It was more fun podcasts, or I would listen to some of my colleagues' Peloton classes just to be like, oh, this is a really nice way to hang out with some of my friends for half an hour. And then gradually I was like, okay, actually today I feel like going for a run, because yesterday I saw 20 people out for a run whilst I was walking the dogs, and it made me a little envious. So off I went. So I just took it really gradually and like remembered that it's possible to walk, even at my level. I've come to running again from pregnancy. I've come to running again from injury. I've come to running again from falling out of love of running. And each of those times I've had to suck it up and maybe catch myself in a reflection of a glass mirror, a window or whatever, and be like, you look like a beetroot. Stop. Just walk for a minute. Let that heart rate calm down. Let that skin not sizzle. And then when you feel ready, go again. So it was just having fun and sort of being super grateful to be a beginner again. I think we forget how lucky we are to be a beginner again. And if you can find fun in that, it might compel you to restart.
Did you have any sort of existential life crisis during those back 6 months of the year where you fell out in love with the sport that made you into the figure you are, the deals you have, what was that mental process like? Because I've fallen out of love with running at times, and it can be a scary place where it's like, but I'm supposed to be the guy who loves it, who promotes
Yes.
it.
Exactly. Yeah, 100% had those feelings. I'd be looking at Instagram, seeing everybody doing all these races and going out for runs all the time, and me just being like, oh my God, I'm barely running. Like, of course, again, yes, 5 days a week I'm at Peloton, so I'm still running. I'm still out there. But me actually lacing up, going outside for my own runs was really, really rare for the tail end of last year. And so, yes, I think I did have a little bit of a crisis at some point. But then it was definitely like September onwards, sort of the meta trip, the Hoka conversation. There were things that just started to give me those bubbles of excitement again of, hey, you do love running. You just needed a break. You just needed to take the pressure off yourself and restart.
Bex, I know we're coming up on time here. So to put a bow on this conversation, if you had to encapsulate this next chapter with Hoka, as well as it kind of coincides, as you were telling me, with your 40th birthday coming up here, what is a successful next chapter of your life, both in your life, the decade of 40, as well as with Hoka, look like for you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, what's lying ahead for me alongside Hoka is some really exciting runs. I'm gonna get to go to different parts of the world again and tackle some really challenging races, which is giving me all the feelings at this point of training. But I mean, Hoka really is a brand that aligns with where I feel like I'm at right now, because it's a performance brand, but it's a brand that also celebrates the everyday runner, the community, innovation. And for me, heading into my 40s, I'm very aware of the changes that women go through at this point of our lives, and understanding that, hey, we may have been the fast runner back in the day, but it's okay to change. It's okay to figure out something different that suits where you're at. And I feel really supported by Hoka to do that in this next chapter. So I'm stoked to get it going.
I love it. I'm stoked for you. Bex, final question. The question I ask every guest on every single podcast, and I always love asking my friends from the UK this question because it relates more to you guys. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
Oh my gosh, my beef Wellington. I'd make him a beef
Oh,
Wellington.
you can make beef Wellington.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
he'd
like
probably
his cream of the
slate
crop.
it.
You know he's a runner, right? I think he's run like 10 marathons.
He has. Yeah.
Have you ever met him?
I have not. I'd
Okay.
love to meet him. I'd just be so scared to say anything, though.
Totally, 100%. Well, Bex, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the new role with Hoka, and keep crushing it. Hope to see you at a run soon, or who knows, whatever we get invited to next. It'll be hard to top running with Mark Zuckerberg.
I know, right? I
appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.